With the purchase of each item in CenterPoint and or the sale of each item, CenterPoint allows you to record quantities. The description of those quantities is what we call a unit of measure. To set up units of measure, you would go to Setup, General, and Units of Measure. Depending on the version of CenterPoint that you're working with, you may have some default units of measure already set up. We've gone ahead and created some units of measure our own. My particular company sells vinyl flooring, and we purchase vinyl flooring by the roll. So we set up a unit of measure called vinyl flooring roll. I'm going to go in and edit that unit of measure. For each unit of measure, you have the ability to put in 4-character abbreviation on that. And on reports, you can either show a column showing the abbreviation, or you can have a column showing the full name of the unit of measure, depending on what you have room for. And then you have the abbreviation, and then you have a name for the unit of measure. Now you can set up one unit of measure as the default stocking, purchase, or selling unit of measure and or default application unit of measure. But if you have multiple different items that very often have different units of measure, you might not want to set a default unit of measure. However, for example, we have a lot of things that are purchased and sold as each. So I might set up each. I'm going to save the one that I'm on right now. I might go ahead and mark each as the default stocking unit of measure, the default purchasing unit of measure, and maybe even a default selling unit of measure. That way, when I'm setting up a new item, it will automatically default that into the item. So it will create a default unit of measure there for it. I'm going to go back to the vinyl flooring one. Okay, we do have a conversions tab over on the right-hand side here, or on just to the right of the general tab. This conversions tab, though, generally isn't used for doing conversions. It is really just used for a frame of reference for what that conversion is. So, for example, we sell vinyl flooring by the roll, but we also sell it by linear foot. And if I highlight linear foot here, we can see that we have 200 linear feet per roll. Okay, so that is my conversion back to linear feet. In other words, 1 linear foot is equal to 0.005 of a vinyl flooring roll. Okay, so we can go ahead and click save on that. But once again, if you're going to be doing conversions on some of your inventory items from one unit of measure to the next, the conversions are actually really going to be set up on each one of the inventory items themselves, because it's not always the same conversion back to in each unit of measure. For example, I could have a unit of measure called a case, and for some items there might be 24 items in a case, but for other items there might only be 6 items in a case. So we'd want to do that unit of measure at the item level, or that conversion at the item level. So I'm going to go ahead and click save there and go ahead and close out of this. Now there's 2 different places where you can assign a unit of measure. You can assign a unit of measure to an individual account. So if I went to set up an accounts, and I'm going to open up my revenue account, and let's say that when I am selling items and when I'm selling something like products, I want to know how many I sold. So on the product sales account, I might go ahead and assign a unit of measure called each. Okay, and that way I could have that unit of measure displayed on reports as well. Okay, the other place where you might assign a unit of measure is on actual sales items or inventory items. So underneath setup in either sales or inventory items, if I go into one of the items, such as this economy bike package, we can go ahead and assign a default unit of measure to that right here on the general tab. Okay, and then the same thing with any kind of a service item or just a sales item that isn't inventory. If I go in and I edit it, we'll see here where we can assign the unit of measure to that particular item. To change a unit of measure, we can go right back to the unit of measure setup screen under setup and general and units of measure. And if you needed to edit or change a name of a unit of measure, like let's say I just want to go ahead and change the abbreviation on this dozen to just DOZ, I could highlight it and click edit and just change that unit of measure to just DOZ and then hit save on it. Okay, you can copy existing units of measure. So I can highlight a unit of measure and click copy on it, and then it would copy the abbreviation, any defaults you had, and any conversions that you set up on the conversions tab. I'm going to go ahead and click cancel on that, but that's how you would go ahead and copy a unit of measure. If you needed to take and combine two units of measure. So for example, what if I accidentally set up another unit of measure called each? And now I have two units of measure called each. I have one with a capital EACH in the abbreviation and one with a lowercase. If I've used those both on accounts and in transactions, and I maybe need to, instead of deleting one, go ahead and combine them, what you could do is highlight the one you want to keep. Highlight the one you want to get rid of, and then go ahead and click the combine button and select the one that you wanted to keep. Click OK, and then it will take and replace that old one with the one that you said you wanted to keep anywhere that it was used in the system. You can delete units of measure by going ahead and highlighting it and clicking delete. So just going ahead and clicking the delete button. But if that unit of measure is used anywhere, you're going to get a message like this that you're unable to delete the remaining items. So if it's been used somewhere, then you can no longer delete the item.